What's up, all you cool cat and kittens out there? Um, Coming a little late, but better late than never, right? So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my guest for tonight. He is an OG as OG gets in this YouTube podcast game, if you will. We got none other than the Hat Man himself, Mr. Flesh Wound Dan.
What's up?
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks everybody for staying up late with us tonight.
Hell yeah. I'm glad. We kind of talked, but this is my fault. And
But not Twisted Tea oriented, though.
that is true. That
So
is
there's
true.
that. People were assuming the worst of you in the chat earlier.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to disappoint or not disappoint. I don't know. Them fellas in the chat, but yes. Had some personal stuff going on, still kind of dealing with it, but hopefully we're there till tomorrow. We'll see what happens tonight. Um, But we got Mr. Mikey. What is going on? What's going on in the chat, Mikey? Or I hope you're able to stay up for this, my guy. About to piss out a gallon of sodies. Piss it out and then pop open your another one, man. Ben Grimm's up in here. What's going on, Ben? Corey Ross, what's up, man? I don't know who Anthony Edwards is. Maybe I should. I don't know.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Panty Raid.
We got Cheskav's in here way early. What's going on? But yeah, thanks to everybody in here. I want to thank everybody for being in this chat right now.
Yeah, already got questions.
Hell yeah. And we'll get to those questions, but we'll get to them. We'll get to them towards the end because, as always, this is a work in progress, as I like to say, I think, each time I do this. And I'm trying to get better, man. We got Dale Gribble in here, Stone Gas Man for president, man. Well, yeah, hell yeah.
There we go.
Hell yeah. Better than probably any option we're gonna have come 2024. But
Stone's got my vote.
hell yeah. But before it's the normal question that I like to ask everybody. Everybody that I've had on here so far, and I promise everybody that I'm gonna get better at doing this. And I hope that this is just this. We're gradually getting better. But I need to know from Dan, like, what got Dan, young fleshling Dan, into the horror genre as a whole?
I grew up in that era of the mom and pop video store, as well as Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, Video Update, all that good stuff. My dad traveled a lot, so I was always on the road with my parents, and no matter where we went, I would stop at video stores. I got to see probably just about as many video stores as any human being because of the traveling all over, particularly the US. So, there's a chance if you're listening to this show and you had an old mom and pop video shop, I probably stepped foot in it at some point because I did a ton of traveling. So that was a big thing as far as early influences. Clive Barker was a big one, and David Cronenberg was a big one. When I saw Hellraiser, that was pretty mind blowing because it was just so different. I was very familiar with slasher films. I think before I saw it, it's hard to remember what I saw first or when, but I knew that was different and I knew it was special. I didn't fully understand the themes or anything. Also, pretty big deal in getting me to really read for pleasure, checking out Hellbound Heart, the novella, and Books of Blood, of course, which is a big early influence for a lot of horror fans. And that just sort of showed me horror is really diverse. It's not just a masked guy killing people. There's a lot out there to enjoy of all types of art. Not that I have anything against masked people killing people, just you know, I just realized what a diverse genre it is, and you didn't you don't get that in any other genre.
No, and I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head with that statement right there. Is I don't think I've ever said this, but it's something I've always thought. It's like horror in general. It hits so many nails on the head as far as subgenres. It's probably got more subgenres than any other genre out there today. I mean, ghosts, slashers, zombies, vampires, werewolves. I mean, there's just all kind. There's something for everybody, I think, and I think a majority of the time that's what a lot of people forget. Like, they're honestly, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're average Joe off the street. There's something for you in this genre, and that's what makes this genre special, in my opinion.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, and I got to see quite a bit because of that, just being around all sorts of different places. I would uh probably the first thing I ever did on the internet was look up movies, discover IMDb, MRQE was a big one that I think still exists. And just making massive lists. When I was a kid, I'd have just 50 notebooks with just movie titles. And I had a particularly big one. So anytime I'd go into a video store, I'd look like, sometimes it was just a title like Meat Cleaver Massacre. And it'd take a while to track something like that down. Later on, I was big into, the tape trade and everything. And that's how I saw such a ridiculous amount of stuff, even at a young age. Uh, but yeah, it was like a treasure hunt, and that's huge. I don't know that there's the same situation for horror fans coming up now, even though technically they have access to all sorts of things, but they don't have to work for it now so much.
No.
So
No,
yeah.
and that's one thing I kind of want to hit on. It's like I've mentioned it before, but for me, like growing up, like obviously I think there's about a six maybe 7 year age gap between. I don't think 7 years is accurate, but 5 to 6, I will say, between me and you.
Mhm.
But and I've said it before. It's like it was maybe my freshman year, maybe sophomore year in high school that I fully got internet and I was able to search the interwebs and all that shit. But before that, there was this book, and for the life of me, I can't remember what the book was called, but it was probably about this thick. But
Golden Movie Retriever, maybe, or Leonard
yes,
Maltin.
nope,
Yeah.
Golden Movie Retriever, that was it.
Yeah, I
But
got that every year.
But I had like my brother had that book, and then I kind of like shimmied it from him. But I'm going to the video store, I'm checking this and that out, and then I'm seeing like I'm starting to realize it's like, okay, Halloween, John Carpenter, Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven. So I'm going through this book, and in this book back in them days, you could search by director, actor, whatever. So I'm saying John Carpenter. I'm like, okay, Halloween. I've seen that one, right? So there's like They Live, Escape from New York, Christine, all that shit, you know. And I'm just going through that book, and I'm like, I'm writing it down. I'm like, okay, when I'm at the video store this next time, these are the titles that I'm searching for. Is because I really loved Halloween, so I want to see what more this person has to offer
Mhm.
in the genre. And I think that's a big thing that's missing today. It's just the access to stuff makes it so watered down. It's like when you got that videotape from the video store, it was a commitment.
Yeah,
You,
that was
you
Christmas morning when you found it every
yes,
time.
essentially because you knew it's like, okay, I'm getting this film, whatever,
Mhm.
and it's a commitment because I know I'm coming in here on, let's just say, like for me, it's especially Friday night, you know,
Mhm.
Friday nights. I'm getting to go to the video store. I'm getting to scour. I'm getting to pick a couple of tapes. I'm getting to take them home. And for me, that was my weekend. And I knew for certain that I wasn't getting another couple videotapes till the next week. So I had to commit to these tapes. I had to watch these tapes no matter what. And I think that's a big thing that's missing with streaming today is the commitment.
Yeah, no, it's instant gratification, which yeah, hey, it's nice, but you didn't have that moment of pure joy when you found something like Slumber Party Massacre or something, like that you maybe didn't find immediately. Um, Scream Queen Hot Tub Party was a big early one for me because that had the dreaded adult sticker on it. In my local rental store, which was well, really it wasn't the first one, but my big one was Sunburst Video, not Suncoast, Sunburst Video in Washington State, Tri-Cities area. Some people might remember that if you're listening to this and lived there in the 90s. And yeah, they had put the adult sticker on it, which meant it was a porn. I was savvy enough to know it wasn't a porn at that point because I saw, I saw the actresses and other things and knew, they didn't do porn. So that took a while to get a hold of that one for that very reason. And when you got it, it didn't always pan out, but once in a while, you'd find magic,
Yes, and that's like my neck, and I kind of hit on it a little, maybe in Orcs and like when I did Jays. It's like when you did hit that title, that was like it hit every cylinder for you. The feeling of like, oh my god, this is a fucking masterpiece. But I know that it's like one or two things. I know for one, I'm going to have to return this to the video store. I'm not going to get to watch it again tomorrow. Or two, I'm going to have to go search this out at like FYE or Suncoast Videos and try to find this so I can watch it. I guess it's like the thrill. It's kind of like the thrill of the hunt in a way. But at the same time, it's like the access. Like now I say, okay, just throwing off the top of my head. Like say like the Lost Boys. Say you discover that on the streaming now. And it's like, it's so, you can find that so easily that it's not the same as like, oh my God, I'm going to have to return this. And then maybe I'm not going to get a chance to rent this again or see this again for a little bit. I just think for me personally, and probably for a lot of people, that's the biggest thing that's missing today as far as watching new movies, discovering new movies. It's like, I liked Hereditary. It's a really good movie. I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray because I liked it. And then it's going to sit on my shelf for a year or two, and I'm never going to get to it.
Yeah.
But with the video store, it is different for sure.
Absolutely. And I mean, there were a few other things. I mean, technically I was born in Silver Spring, Maryland, basically DC. And so I knew some ambassadors' kids and, politicians' kids. My mom taught some pretty big politicians' kids back then. And so I even had like a concept of like who Lucio Fulci was when I was very little. Couldn't see all the movies back then, couldn't find them all, but I knew who he was. I guess I dug a lot harder than your average like young horror fan. I knew there was like a lot out there that was different, foreign stuff, whatnot. I was a big Vincent Price kid. I just devoured pretty much everything I could possibly see through, also HBO and late night cable and Skinamax, of course. Got to discover all that good stuff too. But yeah, a lot of it actually ambassadors' kids too, which was really kind of cool.
I would imagine it would have to be. Get into the chat here a little bit before I get too far behind. But Ben Grimm said he's on SPT Slaughterport time. I guess we can say that. That's good. I like that, Ben Grimm. But Cinemurder Drum video. I think I'm saying that correct.
Yes. I
He's
had that book too.
the creature feature book from John Stanley was a big one for him as a kid. And I see you right below him saying that you had that as well. It's a great guide.
I still do. I don't know if I have it within reaching distance, but I still have my copy of that.
Ben Graham, he says he didn't get to pick the movies. He got to watch horror movies that his dad picked. Well, I mean, it's not a bad thing either.
A lot of mine was alone. My parents were not horror fans at all, so
mine wasn't either. And it was at a time where it was like, okay, I have mom and pop right across the street, which as long as you had money, they didn't care. So I could go get whatever I wanted, and they didn't care.
Yeah, I remember. I don't think he was Italian, but I don't know, Croatian something. But I remember just a conversation like a zombie fights a shark.
Exactly.
Stuff like that, and you had to put the work in to figure out what the hell that was.
Exactly. And we got have Cheeto of you. How are you doing? Glad to see you in here for sure. But you mentioned that, but it's like at that time it's like you're going on hearsay. So when you hear somebody, you're like, oh man, there's this movie called Zombie, and this fucking zombie and the shark they fight, and you're like, oh my god, I've got to search this out. I got to find it. It did more compared to like nowadays. It's like, okay, yeah, there's this movie, zombie fights a shark, and somebody be like, okay, what's it called? And you'd be like, oh, it's called Zombie. You're like, and then maybe they'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll get to it. I'll put it on my list, but they never really get to it, right?
Yeah.
Back then it wasn't a choice. It was like, okay, you say this is the movie you're searching for. It's at the video store. You have to grab it right then, and then you have to watch it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And a lot of I find a lot of people more remember Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, and I have nostalgia for those too. But it was different. Like if you were lucky and had a really good mom and pop, like Sunburst had an amazing horror section. It was massive. So they got pretty much everything. They got some obscure shit that, again, I was just very, very fortunate being near them. There were actually two of them. One was Richland and one was in Pasco, I believe. If you know the Tri-Cities area. I think there was two. There might have been three. I don't know if any stretched beyond, but I know there was at least two. And they were really good when it came to selection. And, a little bit later, is that era where you had Hastings, if anybody remembers Hastings.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, that was like you could rent, buy. They had action figures, books, comics, you name it. It was like the dream store. And the closest comparison is Second and Charles now, but it was even better than that. It had everything. And yeah, you just had all sorts of avenues to discover this stuff. And I was very, very fortunate.
Heck yeah. I mean, that's kind of the same story for me as well. I had an older brother and I was able to see a lot of that stuff and then just go to the video store and be like, I see this cool title, so I'm going to grab it and all that. But got Slasher Home Video. What's up, Chris? How you doing, dude? Have Cheeto or Will View. He said his first horror was Grizzly. That's a good one, dude. That's made by a Kentucky guy. William Girdler, Kentucky guy, man. Unfortunately, he died pretty early scouting for one of his films in a helicopter crash.
Yeah, ironically, the Grizzly 2 finally came out. A little bit underwhelming, I think, but finally have it.
Yeah, we got it, but Jamie, how you doing, Jamie? Good to see you in here. So sometimes that I really miss about video stores is looking at the fantastic cover art. There were times that I chose a movie just based on the cover. And I think that's for a majority of us, even though there's a little age gap. I think as long as video stores were prevalent, I think that was what a majority of us did, was choose these things on cover art alone. So
absolutely. Yeah. It was a interesting era. I mean, a lot of people right now will get upset when, Vinegar Syndrome or whatever puts out like an obscure title. It's like, oh, that's who cares about that? Nobody's ever heard of that. But, I remember seeing things like TC 2000 at the video store and seeing that awesome cover art, and that might be the best fucking movie in the entire world. Like, it has to be. Look at that cover art. Look at that badass on there. So yeah, I do actually get a little bit more excited when something like a TC 2000 comes out, because you never know. Some of these things don't make that jump and kind of get the big remaster job. They might be kind of sort of lost to time. So yeah, that I like that innocence of childhood where, it's not like now where, even I'm guilty of it. Sometimes you look at something, it's like, oh, that looks like a piece of shit. Back then everything might potentially be the greatest thing ever when you saw it.
Yep, I agree. One of the biggest ones for me, that I vividly remember, it's like Rocktober Blood. I remember seeing that videotape. I'm like, this movie looks fucking awesome. And then I finally get it. I'm like, okay, that's what that was. Okay, wasn't it? Didn't live up to my to my expectations, I guess. But Synergy Murder Video, I work for a company that bought out Hastings. He said they actually still rent movies as well, but it's a rare thing when it happens.
Okay. Yeah, there is Videodrome in Atlanta. I don't know if they survived the lockdown. I think they did, but they still rent. Not a lot of that though.
No, there's not. I don't have anywhere close by me that still rents. Have a Cheeto with you says he still does. He blind buys a lot of films by the cover or the cast. Yeah, I still do that to this day, especially Vinegar Syndrome. Grimm said, yeah, we couldn't look up the movies and see reviews before you rented it. We looked at the cover and read the synopsis, and based on that, yep, that is true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still had movie stars too, so.
Yep.
Dale Gribble.
Will we ever get a video tour of Dan's autograph? Well, I don't know. That's a question for Dan right there.
So, well, I don't know. There's a lot of the walls, but I don't know. Maybe you can see a little bit there. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. So, like on Flesh Wound Features, Todd is the producer, like tech stuff. It's never me. It's always Todd. And I need to figure out, I don't know how I can shoot and upload and it not look like shit. I mean, I guess I can use my cell phone to a degree, but yeah, I know that'll be kind of a neat video, probably like 7-hour video. So I'll make it happen at some point. Probably somebody has to come out here that knows what they're doing. I go down to LA to see Todd. Well, obviously the last few years haven't been able to, but next time, hopefully I'll get him out here and you'll get like a really cool professional video where I can show you different stuff.
I hope, because Jamie says it right here. You should really do a tour of your room, Dan, please. And I agree with Jamie. I think all of us can agree we're ready to see the Hat Man's room / video tour.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, right. Yeah. Where I shoot here, yeah, you get like there's books over there. There's a lot of collectibles over there, and then there's Blu-ray room and several DVD rooms. So yeah, it's more of a library than a house.
Oh yeah. And have Cheeto with you, definitely. Vinegar makes him laugh. Half their films are 80s porn, it seems. I would agree with that. I think Dan would as well.
Yeah, but they are films from that era. I know some people might laugh at that, and I get it. Like, not for everybody. I'm not going to suggest everybody go and buy the porn titles, but they were films. They played in theaters. They had storylines. There are some that are hilarious. Corporate Assets is one. I think that's a very entertaining movie. And Hot and Saucy Pizza Girls,
Orc, there you go, buddy.
Yeah.
There's two that I'm highly considering getting, and that's Stiff Competition and Lust in the Dust, just because
Lust in the Dust is not porn.
It's not, but it kind of is though. Kind of, right?
No, not really. That's a comedy. Divine from the John Waters films, Pink
Okay.
Flamingos. That's a comedy. I
Well,
think you'd like it.
I think I'm honestly gonna get it because I watched the trailer. I'm like, man, this looks great. And Stiff Competition looks like Rocky / Karate Kid mixed with like a blowjob competition. Am I correct?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, yeah.
They
So
whack off, they don't wax off.
okay, so yeah, like definitely, I want to see that. But so I think there's stuff to be had in that genre. Like there's stuff that's fun that you can watch and it still be kind of like a dirty movie, I guess. But stuff like that, I'm all there for. Sorry. But kind of getting out of the way as far we've talked about the video store and what got you in. One of the things I'm really excited to kind of dive in with you tonight is, dude, you've been doing this for a while as far as the podcast game. So kind of take me back to that time when you first got approached or you first realized like I want to do a horror podcast, not necessarily on YouTube, but just podcast, internet show, whatever in general.
Well, I was on Facebook. I mean, shit, I was still on MySpace even, I think, at that time. And I was randomly contacted. I didn't realize I had like my phone number where it could be seen. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. And I got a random call from a guy called Chris McGibbon. If you're not familiar with that name, he does a podcast now with Michael Felsher and fuck, it's gonna kill me forgetting Brocky.
Yep, David Brocky and there's another guy, but excellent podcast. If you haven't listened to it, check it out.
Yeah, he just randomly called me up. I think I had posted some just random photos of my DVD shelves at the time, and just said, like, do you want to do a podcast with me? It was horror theater radio at that time. And I think my first question was, what the fuck is a podcast? Because I didn't even know what that term was. I mean, I was online, but I didn't really communicate with anybody at that time. I was pretty new to like MySpace, Facebook, and had no idea what a podcast was. And I kind of figured out within a couple minutes. I was like, oh, like Dead Pit Radio? You mean like a radio show? And at that point, it never really occurred to me that I'd ever do radio. I've done a lot of crazy things in my life. I trained at one point to be a pro wrestler, did a lot of things, but never occurred to me to do radio. And Chris McGibbon called me up, and that's how it started with horror theater radio. Very intimidating because I don't know if it was like the second show. I think maybe it was the second or third. We had an interview with the cast of Face Off, which was a big deal at that point on Sci-Fi Channel. So that was, at the time, that was kind of like holy shit. Everybody talks about that. That's kind of the in thing at that point. And I was scared shitless. And I'm sure a lot of the early stuff probably wasn't great, stumbled through it, but went okay and never stopped since. Back then, I do a lot of radio now, but back then he had a concept because horror theater radio eventually morphed into creep show radio. We were on Blog Talk Radio. We're still on there technically. And so, it was like an audio podcast. That's why we're still, relatively new to YouTube, but we were on that forever. And it became Creep Show Radio, and there were 5 separate unique shows a week. And that went for a little while. Some people didn't get along, as it usually goes. But did that for several years. We were part of a really well, I won't say who they are, but well known, but kind of, in my opinion, shitty website that is pretty well known in the genre. And then it became they present Creepshow Radio, even though they never really did anything. And yeah, that slowly evolved. Some people moved on to other things. Chris wrote for Fangoria for a little bit, did a few things with them, worked on movies for Brian Paulin and several others. Chris has done a whole lot of stuff. He worked on that Night of the Demons documentary that maybe will come out one day. I don't know. I have no fucking clue. Your guess is as good as mine on that one.
I hope so.
And yeah, things just kind of kept evolving. Did some wrestling podcasts too, and worked with all sorts of different people. There might be some old school listeners. Actually, Garrett at Born to Be Rad was like an early listener, which was kind of cool because I didn't put two and two together who he was when he ended up on Region Free. I mean, I knew him from Born to Be Rad. I try and subscribe to every horror related podcast. And then I was like, oh fuck. I'm sitting in the green room with them and it's like, that's Garrett. I knew Garrett. Yeah. And don't want to dox last name or anything, but
yeah,
knew him. Went back. I had like messages. I think I might have sold him some movies like 12 years ago or something crazy on Facebook. And yeah, everybody kind of connects. It's funny. I was a big Fangoria radio guy, so I don't have the direct Dead Pit connection, mostly because I had trouble watching their stuff back in the day. Whatever their website was at that point, I had some rough experiences trying to watch, and so I didn't get to watch a lot of their stuff until later and more recently. But they were a big deal. That was literally the first thing I said. Like, what the fuck is a podcast? And then once it kind of clicked, it was like, oh, like Dead Pit, that's a podcast. So yeah, that was like the original conversation with Chris. And it's kind of cool now. There's connections to a lot of people doing different things. Lewis Paul, if you've ever been to Chiller Theater in New Jersey, it's just like the big horror con. He like does a lot of the celebrity interviews, I believe, still. And he's an author, so I had that connection. Brian Harris, who's an absolutely amazing critic and author as well. Chris, of course, as I talked about, and Melissa, who's actually been on the show a couple times here on YouTube. Hosted with her, a lady named Jennifer Holderness, and yeah, we had all sorts of different people back then. It was interesting ride that continues to this day, and now the YouTube era.
That is great. And just for me and anybody listening, when Chris first contacted you, because I know from Dead Pit history, because that's my kind of first venture into this, that Dead Pit started in about, I think their first show was late December of 2005.
Yeah.
So was it 2006, 2007 when Chris contacted you about maybe doing something?
Yeah, maybe like 2008-ish. Yeah, Dead Pit had been around a little bit because, they were a huge deal.
Yeah.
And I think back then I couldn't name, except Fangoria Radio, of course, which felt like a separate thing because it was, XM and all that. But other than that, like I couldn't name like a horror radio show really at that time. So Dead Pit they were really kind of the OGs. I don't know if there's anybody that was doing it before them, but certainly nobody I think that stuck with it. So yeah, I really respect the hell out of those guys and try and go back and re-watch a lot of the history that I missed. So yeah, I guess everything. Piz kind of comes from Dead Pit era.
Yes, he does. He comes from Dead Pit exactly because he used to have his segment on the Dead Pit radio show that he would do, and then I think he kind of went from that and started his YouTube channel. So yeah.
Everything kind of comes from them, and I think that's really cool because sometimes it's surprising, like different people with like these little connections to each other in the horror community. It's pretty wild.
Yep. have Cheetah with you. He just subbed to Flesh Wound Dan. Awesome.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
I would do
Flesh Wound feature.
Flesh Wound features because I don't have any content on my YouTube page. It's Flesh Wound features.
Which
you can sub to me too. There's just nothing there.
Yeah. And once we get done with this, I will be sure to link Flesh Wound features here in this video so everybody can go sub. But Have Cheetah brings up an excellent D. Snyder and Debbie Rashawn were on Fangirl Radio, and Dead Pit had a kind of like a big beef with them. Like D. Snyder fucking hated them guys for whatever reason.
I have no idea. I've heard that. Like, I have no idea what that beef was. If they talked about it on the radio show, I don't really remember. But
earlier they kind of did, but it's still, it's like, I don't think D. Snyder understood, and he's just like, oh, these guys are talking shit about what we're doing over here, so fuck them guys. So they were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he said that's the one he said to. So Flesh Wound features. So.
Oh, sweet, cool. Thanks, man.
Awesome on that one.
So yeah, I mean, I guess my backstory beyond that, that kind of led to me doing movies. Well, the movie run is really weird because I did some auditioning and like the basic stuff everybody does way back and in between when I was thinking I was going to be a pro wrestler and you know, cracking my head open doing really stupid backyard shit. Don't do that at home. But
no shit.
Yeah, I remember getting a bottle cracked on my skull and not being able to stop the bleeding. That was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. Didn't care about the glass or the blood splurting. It was just not going to be able to hide that. But the movie run, totally random. I was going to really, I guess you would say, like a community yard sale sort of thing, flea market, whatever you want to call it, outdoor thing. And I ran into Conrad Brooks, which was strange. You know, oh, fuck, there's Conrad. And had a conversation, and literally just like that, I was in a Conrad Brooks movie. Knew who Conrad was, and I will say, rest in peace. That's a whole other podcast in and of itself. But the movies Conrad made himself were special, very special. I've seen morbidly obese cavemen fighting rubber snakes that you would buy at Toys R Us, and scenes that go on for like 2 or 3 minutes and were really special. And I ended up in a movie he did called Gypsy Vampire Zombie on the Loose. Not a vampire movie, but had like I don't think there was any vampire in it, if I remember right, but it was loosely connected to a series of movies he did called Gypsy Vampire. And this was a little surreal. Like, I knew I wasn't, again, I was pretty savvy, you know, I knew, and I was older at this point, but I knew, like, I wasn't exactly going to be in a Hollywood picture, but yeah, it was odd. The best part of that was, you know, Conrad came to Hollywood in the 1940s. Even at that point, you know, he's one of the last of that era. So I'd hear stories about, you know, going to a local bar and, you know, Bela Lugosi, and he had stuff with Vincent Price, who he was actually in Mad Magician, I believe it was, with him, and Lash LaRue, you know, doing tricks in just some random, you know, club or whatever that he met in LA back in the days. So those old time Hollywood stories were really cool. The movie itself is awful, and I only ended up being in it for like one scene pretty much. And I was supposed to be like a butler sort of thing. And I was like, Conrad, should I get a suit or something? It's like, no, Danny, I don't want to complicate things. You're good just the way you are. So I think I had like a Fulci Lives shirt and looked ridiculous just being a butler. So yeah, there wasn't much with that. But then later, later in between this, I did some short film stuff and had a couple things. At one point, I was going to do a documentary, which would have been like a big thing, kind of uh, essentially the kink scene, the BDSM scene in like small towns, and a lot of like fetish stuff. But it wasn't going to be a porno or anything. It might have turned into that. But I interviewed a lot of unique people. A guy that lived as a dog 24/7 was like something that it never finished because people in that world don't particularly like it when word gets out that you're going around interviewing people and thinking maybe you're filming them or shit. So
Yeah.
fortunately didn't get a lot of releases that I needed, and that never happened. But then I did a couple films, quite frankly, with some real pieces of shit. So I won't name the films, but those are out there. People can see them. Sorry, I had a weird pop-up ad there that covered you up.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so did a couple zombie films. Well, the one that you can actually see me in is Ghoulish Tales. I think Sleazebox has that, so I play multiple roles. I'm like a racist neighborhood watch guy. I am also perverted Santa, a gay homeless roadie, a lot of different stupid things all in one movie. So yeah, that's pretty much the only thing as far as like seeing me, I guess, if you wanted to check that one out. Yeah.
I got you. But it's awesome that you've done that, and like I said last night, like you've lived probably like 1,000 lives, man, and done a lot of awesome stuff. Not just as podcasting, but being in movies. Like you've been in movies, whether there's something we know, but either way, you can at the end of the day, you can say, yes, I've been in a fucking movie.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And not everybody can say that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And also awesome chat tonight, guys. I'm sorry if I lose track of questions, but
Yeah.
Ghoulish Tales, I know you can buy it off of Sleazebox, but Ben, I might still have copies of that locked away somewhere. I'll let you know on Discord or something. But you can also watch it. I think you're on our Patreon, Ben, and if you go back a ways, you should be able to check out Ghoulish Tales. Well, the commentary version of it anyways, but I have copies, so I can get you something.
Oh, yeah. Well, I hate to. We haven't barely been on an hour, but I've got to take care of something.
Okay, I can answer questions in the chat if you need a minute, or
if you want. I don't know how far can you see in the chat. Can you see a while?
Yeah, I can scroll back.
Because once we started, like everybody's been asking you questions from the beginning.
Sure.
If
you
got a minute to do that, because I've got to take care of this before it gets out of hand.
No worries. That's cool. I'll scroll back. I can do that. And if you asked a while ago and I missed it, just ask it again.
Ask it again, yes, definitely.
Let's see. Cheetah asks, Chris Alexander was the best editor Fangoria ever had. Guys, I'm just turning my mic a little bit so I can see this. So hopefully, does my sound good? If you can just give me a yes in the chat, just makes it a little bit easier for me to read it here. All right. So Chris Alexander, actually, it's interesting. Chris McGibbon, you might not know like his connection to Video Dead, but essentially he's the reason like that Video Dead, that Scream Factory Blu-ray even has extra features. He tracked down everybody. He's got a personal history and story with that movie that's really cool. Something I'm sure he's probably told on his current podcast. But basically, he got offered that an article with an interview we did with Chris Alexander back in the day, just on the show. He's like, "Well, why don't you write it?" I think was what Chris Alexander said. So, yeah, he's a nice guy. Let's see. Other questions. Yeah, Ben, I think it's Sleazebox that you can buy Ghoulish Tales, and I assume that's the same version. I never bought it from Sleazebox, so I would imagine it's the same cut. Um, let's see here. How many horror movies do I own right now, Mikey? It's in the thousands and thousands and thousands. I have no idea, but a lot. It's basically 3.5 rooms now worth. Let's see. I'm scrolling up, so I might not see the new questions right away. I know there was some funny ones at the beginning, so I'm going to skip to the beginning of the chat. I know there were some good ones here. Let's see. It's a long ass chat because we had to postpone this, but all right. Let's see. I think I'm getting to the juicy orc stuff. Oh, Corey. Corey asks if I could spend the day doing whatever I wanted, who would I spend the day with? Adam Cole or Bridget the Midget? Ah, man. Both strong work rates, different types. I think Bridget tried to stab her boyfriend in the dick. So I have to like factor that in. Adam Cole's probably got some pretty cool stories. I could talk wrestling with him. So I'm gonna actually just go bros over the other there and just have a good wrestling conversation where I don't have to worry about getting stabbed in the dick. Yeah, I could probably carry Bridget on my shoulder, Jamie. Ben asks, who's my top 5 rappers? Ben, I'm a huge rap guy, and I don't want to like limit that. Ice-T, 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 and Ice-T. How about that? Everybody knows I'm big into the rap. How long did it take to grow out the beard? I mean, I do trim it. It may not look like it, but I do. I haven't probably been facial hair free in about 6 or 7 years, probably. Let's see, going down. Some book talk. Some video store talk. Yeah, I miss Hastings a whole lot. It's nothing quite like it. I mean, Second and Charles is cool, but it's not Hastings. Jamie talking about her House of Television where they rented VCRs. I will try and do that tour. Oh, you interviewed Kay Parker, Cheetah. That's awesome. She's actually really she's nice. I haven't had too many bad experiences with porn stars, to be honest. Sika would be an exception. My all-time favorite full moon movie. Ooh, that's a tough one. Uh, Setting aside like big franchises, I'm a big fan of that late '90s era. Uh, which some people would say it all started to go downhill after Castle Freak in '95 because that was like the last one where they, I believe, still had Paramount money. And I disagree. I actually think going even into the early 2000s, Full Moon was still doing some unique stuff. So I'm huge into like Hideous and Blood Dolls. I mean, Blood Dolls is fucking amazing. Uh, that movie has a whole lot of crazy shit going on. Very kinky, very weird. Head of the family, of course, that's a big one. The creeps. That was a time when, in terms of volume, we weren't getting as much horror, and even though the hate's a little bit irrational for Scream, I was very much like not into that Scream wave at that time. So Full Moon was like that strong alternative where I was just getting bizarre, one of a kind shit. Like even today, there's not like a lot of like, oh, that's another Full Moon knockoff. A Full Moon movie is still very much a Full Moon movie, and that sort of feel and that vibe can't really be uh duplicated. You just don't see it really. You see a lot of trauma style movies, but you don't see a lot of like Full Moon style movies. So I know I didn't name a ton there, but if I go back a little earlier, I would also say I really like Dark Angel: The Ascent. I actually met Angela Featherstone, who starred in that. That's a pretty ambitious Full Moon movie, and Meridian with Sherilyn Fenn is also, I think, probably like if uh, probably one of the safer ones to recommend to somebody that might not like that bizarro era where the movies got really really strange. But Empire, Full Moon, that was my jam when I was a kid. That those companies mean so much to me. Yeah, so there's a few. Let's see here. Subspecies was good. I know they're working on another one, but uh I just feel like they don't have the budget to pull that off now. There've been some good recent Full Moon movies though. Like I thought Ouija's was a lot of fun. Um they really got to kind of focus in on that stuff that they can do for no money. Um and say what you will, I know a lot of people shit on them, but during lockdown, those Barbie and Kendra things they put together, those were a lot of fun. At a time where, goddamn, did you need some fun? Um, I think band to think that that was like conceived and out so fast. I think he and William Butler were just walking along at in the middle, like when you probably weren't supposed to, and just like let's make a movie, and they found a way to do it. And God bless Charles Band. So keep hitting me with these questions, guys, while we're waiting on Jake. I don't care. It can be goofy, it can be serious, whatever. I will answer it. Corey Jess once showed me a trailer for a no budget movie called Summer's End and the Legend of Sam Hayne. Um, I don't remember it being. I know what you mean, the Legend of Sam Hayne, and that had like Ginger Lynn Allen and bunch of different people. That movie was pretty known for being severely cut. In fact, I believe I actually have like a work print version of that somewhere. But uh, I remember the director. It was like they shot it, it got cut again, and I think the original DVD release was like missing like a half hour or something insane. That movie was like so neutered that I don't know that anybody really ever got to see that movie truly like it should have been. Um, that was that era. Murder Set Pieces was another one. Like that initial DVD, which if you can imagine, I mean, that's a really fucked up movie. But that's that time where you could buy it in Walmart, you know, and that was edited to shit. But luckily, an uncut version of Murder Set Pieces did come out. If I'm not mistaken, think uh, I think that might be with Unearthed. I don't know. But there is at least you can see the uncut version of that. Uh, strangely enough, Serena Vincent, like she almost disavowed that movie. Like she turned white as a ghost at conventions if you brought up like murder set pieces. It was pretty funny, kind of Shannon Elizabeth and Jack Frost territory. Always wanted her to sign a carrot, but yeah. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat. Yes, she did. Yeah, that's true, Cheetah. Yeah, I even forget like all the people that were in that movie. I was so excited and then so disappointed when I heard how butchered it was. Some of my favorite shot on video movies. Let's see. Um, well, Things obviously is a big one. Um, Boarding House, I think, is one of the most entertaining ones. 555 is a good one. In fact, I can't even remember who he is, but we had somebody that was involved in like the old radio show ages ago that had some sort of connection to 555. Um, I can't remember that whole story. We had a few different people that were like around for a cup of coffee. Um, yeah, those are some. I don't love them all. I still kind of have an obsession for shot on video though, because that was kind of like the tone of some of the shitty movies that I was in. Um, there's certainly better examples though, but um, yeah, Sub Rosa is still hammering those out, doing some cool shit. Um, and some of those Vinegar Syndrome sub labels, stuff like Burglar from Hell with Debbie D, and uh, yeah, it's amazing. I never would have thought we would have seen stuff like that on Blu-ray. I mean, Make Flicks has a fucking Things box set. Like, what a world on Blu-ray. What a world. That's just wild. They have a Camp Blood box set. That's just insane to me. Let's see here. Yeah, Jenna Jameson was, Ben, and that's what was weird about that one too, because I mean Jenna Jameson, I'm not a big fan of her adult work, but Jenna was like a legit superstar. I mean, she's next to maybe Ron Jeremy. You have to consider her the most famous adult film star ever. Maybe even more than him. I mean, her name was huge at that time. Let's see. Ben, everybody moved out here. Parents, my brother and his family, even our next door neighbors moved out to Atlanta. Just they got inspired. People just didn't want to live in West Virginia anymore. No disrespect to West Virginia, but that's where I was at the time, and literally everybody came out here. It's bizarre. You move, your neighbors become your neighbors again, and got the parents out here, got the nieces, nephew, my brother, his ex, my brother's ex, and her current husband. They're out here. We're close with them, so yeah, one big happy family. Everybody kind of has to land in the same spot. Let's see here. What else do we have? Sam Hayne, Jenna Jameson. Favorite Universal monster movie? You know what? I can't even lie and say that it's close because it's not. I mean, Bride of Frankenstein, it's hard to beat that. Definitely one of the greatest horror films ever made. Not the most inspired answer. I love them all, but Bride of Frankenstein, there's nothing I could say better than Bride of Frankenstein in that Universal catalog. And I'm sure a lot of people in the chat know, but check out Gods and Monsters with Ian McKellen and Brendan Fraser about James Whale, the director of Bride of Frankenstein. Really good movie. Probably the best acting I've ever seen out of Brendan Fraser, quite frankly. McKellen plays Whale, though. Let's see. Jake probably is tangling with the house shark. As long as he doesn't get fully naked to take a shit, he should be okay. Uh, it's got some bad CGI sharks lurking outside the house. Let's see. Mikey asks, is there a movie that you had to take a break from because it was so wild and over the top? Not really. That's a good thing. So, um, to me, like I was never like a kid that really got like nightmares. I mean, I definitely Hellraiser definitely had an effect because when I was growing up at that time, like I went to like Catholic school. So at that time, that's a hell of a thing to see. It's hard to imagine. I mean, I think it's like the Exorcist effect. Like you'll get people now, it's like, oh, what a pussy passing out in the theater. Well, like 1970, if you were, or in the 70s, if you were like a religious person at that time, like you can kind of understand like going in to see The Exorcist and uh you got Linda Blair or Eileen Dietz jabbing a crucifix into her cooter. That's a little bit fucking extreme. Um, Jake's probably okay if I say cooter on his show. I guess cooter's still okay, isn't it? I didn't drop a C bomb or anything, so I think we're okay with cooter. Um, but yeah, no, Hellraiser was definitely harder, at least for me, with that upbringing. What are some non-horror YouTube channels you're into that we'd be surprised to know? So horror-wise, I will literally subscribe to anything because I like to be supportive. Let's see, what are some horror ones? Well, pretty much all the big wrestling ones. I'm trying to think of someone to put over that's not strict. You know what? It is it is horror somewhat, but I know she does some other things. There's a lady, uh, Pax Panic, on the book side of things that's really cool, but she also does like some crafts and really funny lady. I will say right now she's probably, I mean, she's only got a few hundred subs, but I think maybe like one of the next big things. She doesn't do movies really, but she does some horror book reviews. And even if you're not into books, like most of her videos are short and she's really cool. And I'm predicting big things for her. Let's put over some channels though, because I do think that's important. Um, let's see here. Uh, Wrestling ones, I can't really think of like a small. I will say Click This, which is a big one. I got to with Corey interview. Hold on here, let's see. But yeah, Click This with Sean Oliver and Kevin Nash for sure. Once in a while, you get really surprised at who watches your show. A little bit of a tease. We might maybe have a pretty big rock star on the show at some point. Let's put some people over. Let's see here. Kind of skipping over like some of the really big ones because I'll throw out Lovecraft Easing podcast. Lots of cool interviews there if you're into like cosmic horror. I know I'm kind of cheating and doing some horror stuff, but let's see. Bookbound Weirdo. She's like pretty new. She's cool. Another one to check out. I got to put over the competition that was up against us for horror YouTuber of the month, Pop's Movie Dungeon. He's a really nice guy. Let's see. I will come to something. Let's see. The Horror Show channel, which I know Ben is very familiar with, a much bigger channel than us, but Cecil's a really nice guy. You should be subscribed to that. I think cool shit there always. Mm, let's see. God damn, am I subscribed to a lot of stuff. Uh, let's see. Yeah, it's funny when I go over like my list. A lot of it really is like horror, but let's see. Oh, really good one. Kasha in Wonderland, and she also has a horror booktube channel, but she also has a channel where she does movie reviews. She's from Spain, but she's living in the Netherlands right now. Her stuff is really, really cool. And the movie channel is a lot smaller than the booktube channel. The booktube channel is actually fairly big, but yeah, she's awesome. So yeah, hold on here. Kasha in Wonderland, and yeah, I get the different names mixed up, but I'm sure she's got her other thing linked. Check her out. Keep putting those questions in the chat because I will get to them once I go through here. Yeah, I basically recommend like people have been so kind to us, and so if you got a horror channel and you listen to this, reach out to me. You'll get a sub out of me for sure. Or if you just have a cool movie or book channel and you're looking for subscribers, you've got a sub for me. Let's see. Oh, another good one. Nightmares, anyone question mark. Richard. He does some good book stuff, and he's a cool guy. Pax Panic, as I said, I really like her a lot. And some of these aren't, even personal friends or anything. I just love their stuff. Dead Headspace is pretty cool. They do some good interviews. Yeah, a lot of it's horror and wrestling. Plagued by Visions is good. Arkham Reporter is good. And at one point, I really want to do like a video where I can just name off a lot of these people, particularly the smaller ones that need it, because there's just so much great content on YouTube. Dr. Wolfiel is cool. He's much bigger. He doesn't need a plug from me, but I like his stuff. The Bookubus, another good one. Um, Nick Spheres is a good one. Like doesn't post a lot, but it's a huge channel for some reason. And there's a good like disturbing movie guide series on there. And on the book front, Juan at Plagued by Visions has a really I think he's up to like 12 parts of like fucked up books, disturbing reads that is a excellent guide. Let's get back to the questions. Hopefully I gave you some good material there that you wouldn't have heard of before. Rhonda Shear was awesome. Cheetah. And yes, sub to Mikey, Dying Breed right there. Put me over what? Hopefully not hot coals or steaks. Jamie Hart, of course. I think people on this channel know you, Jamie. But yes, of course. Sub to Jamie. Let's see. Just going back a little bit. Yeah, Cheetah. Pax Panic, really cool. She's funny. I think like in a few years' time, that's going to be a big channel. I'll predict it right now. I probably talked to her maybe like once or twice in just her comments section. I don't know her personally, but yeah, she's really cool. What is your favorite conspiracy theory? Do you believe it to be true? Well, let's see. I find all of it interesting, and but one that I think is true. You know what? I don't even know if it's that controversial anymore. I don't think it makes me a kook or anything, is aliens. I think there is actually some evidence out there for that. And I don't think that's like such a wild thing to say anymore. A lot of it's bullshit, of course. It's part of pop culture and it's in that the world's consciousness. So you're going to get a lot of bullshit, but I do believe there's life out there. So that counts as a conspiracy theory. Um, there's a lot of conspiracy theories though that there probably isn't as much to it. Like nowadays, like political type stuff, I just see like new conspiracy theories on all sides of the spectrum all the time. And I don't know. Sometimes there's not really a conspiracy. You'd be surprised how stupid people are and how random events can be. Like you'd be really amazed out there. There's some really powerful people that are dumb as shit. Um, but I always love hearing about a good conspiracy theory. So feel free to throw any out. But the aliens, yeah, as far as ones that I believe, I think there might be like some actual evidence out there on that front. Let's see. Yeah, Cooter's good people, Cheetah. Trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's go here. What is your favorite word? What is your least favorite word? What turns you on? What turns you off? What sound of noise do you love? What is your favorite curse word? Oh wow, you got a lot there, Mikey. Favorite word? Hmm. Let's get back to that one. Least favorite word. There's a lot of them. I think there's a lot of like new terminology and um I've heard people use let's see. A lot of them are like invented words that didn't exist like 10 years ago. Um I know of a girl that like constantly accuses like everybody on social media of gaslighting, and I don't think she totally grasps what gaslighting is. I don't know if that's like my least favorite word, but I don't know, a lot of people misuse it, I guess. What turns me on? A lot of things. Um Fuck. Yeah, that's a big fucking list. What turns me off? I don't know if that's supposed to mean sexually. Anybody that's like a dick to animals. I guess if there's like some new information about me, I'm a big animal lover. Um, so if somebody's shitty or indifferent to animals, they can suck a dick and choke on it. What sound or noise do you hate? Um, Loud chewers can be a little bit annoying to me. Favorite curse word? Well, it's gotta be fuck. Fuck's a classic. Um, let's see, what else did I miss here? Sika, yeah, she was a bitch. She really was. If I missed like a question, just please repost it. I will. There's nothing I'm like trying to avoid or anything. Oh, Jamie and Fuego. Yeah, you met him, Ben. Really cool guy. I never seem to catch like their live streams. I know you're in them all the time, but those guys are really cool, and ladies are really cool. Let's see. If I gave you a plane ticket to anywhere in the world, where would you go? Australia is the big one that's still on the list. I've gotten to do a lot of traveling, but Australia is an expensive vacation and trip. That's one of the issues. Corey asks, in my opinion, why does Hellraiser Bloodline get so much hate? There's some interesting ideas there, Corey, but I don't know why exactly. I do hear a lot of like, they took it to space. Um, there are some compelling ideas there. Like they could have potentially have made it work. I don't think it's a terrible movie. But Hellraiser really kind of loses the point after two. I mean, I think those first two movies are fantastic, and I've grown to enjoy three, but it's not really what Hellraiser was intended to be at that point, anyways. I think Inferno is actually a pretty decent film, even though it wasn't really meant to be a Hellraiser film. Uh, I highly recommend the graphic novels. They do some really interesting stuff with Kirsty in those. Um, that would be amazing if they did an actual sequel to Hellraiser, because she takes over for Pinhead, and it's really fucking cool. So I highly recommend like reading and checking out the graphic novels from Hellraiser if you're a big Hellraiser fan. Um, yeah. Jamie talks about Nick Spheres. Yeah, not one that like puts up a lot of content or anything, but like really good guides to disturbing, fucked up movies. That's kind of like the big thing. Plagued by Visions, like I said, there's a long series of videos on disturbing books. Not all necessarily horror, just like fucked up stuff like Tampa. If you're a big reader, that's a really twisted book, or Hog. That's a very fucked up book. Let's see. Ben asks, what would a Grail piece movie or merch that I've been looking for? Oh, I've been trying to calm down a little bit on action figures. I mean, I have a lot of like really cool shit, like uh over over the camera. I'm looking at like the Trilogy of Terror, Zuni Warrior. I've got the old school talking Freddy Krueger pull string doll signed by Robert Englund. I've got a lot of like cool stuff. As far as something that I didn't get that I kind of regret, I mean, there's a lot. I don't have like every figure ever made, but recently the Night of the Demons figures that Scream Factory put out. I was at a point there where I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to try and control myself. And I guess I kind of regret not getting those because I do like Night of the Demons a lot. So yeah, it's a recent one. Let's see. Merch that I've been looking for though. Hmm. Really, I mean, I still obviously collect a lot of movies, as you see in my update videos, the Hat Man updates. But yeah, kind of like movies and books are the big thing. I really prefer buying like if I'm gonna pick up like an action figure or you know, prop of some kind. I really like doing that in person if I can. And I will say lately, like Target's got all kinds of different stuff now that you can go pick up. Taco Exorcist for Jake. I don't know. I think he's got family over, so that's cool. As long as you keep throwing out questions, we can ride solo. I don't think I'd be as good at this if I had like a Piz chat where it's just like going so fast. I don't know. I do admire Piz and Christian for being able to keep up with that. Uh, Cheetah talks about right wingers misusing woke. I've complained about my fair share of woke stuff, but yeah, you know what? It's not always accurate. I mean, it definitely exists for sure. There's been some really uh, wacky over the head kind of stuff, but yeah, I've definitely seen woke attached to certain things where it's like, no, that's not a woke movie. It is overused. I'll give you that. Trigger is his favorite word because he's always triggered. Ozzy definitely is triggered a lot. It's pretty easy to piss off Ozzy. I like fucking with Ozzy, but I guess we're all triggered by something. We're all human. Ben, I almost went to Australia, but found the flight was going to take a couple of days. Um, didn't want to waste that much time. Yeah, it is a very big um, trip, and again, it's not cheap. It is something I want to do one day, but that's several $1,000s at the end of the day. I like vacationing where I know somebody to stay with because if you can cut hotels out of it, that really helps. But Australia is still kind of pricey, even if you can take out the hotel. Um, but yeah, I do want to get down there to Sydney one day. That's like a country that I feel I'm very happy living in America for all the problems that we do have. But if I were to like go and like spend a year somewhere, I think I could be pretty content doing that in Australia. Gotta meet a cute Aussie girl to tempt me out that way, give me an excuse or something. Because yeah, I do want to get out there. Uh, who would I like to interview the most? So you didn't specify, so I'll say, and nice to meet you too, Cheetah. Sorry, I just saw your message. Thanks for subbing. I really appreciate it. Flesh Wound Features crew appreciates it. All right, who would I like to interview the most? Um, if we count living or dead there, you know what? I would love to interview H.P. Lovecraft and hang out with them. I'd love to see his take on the horror genre now and adaptations of his work and just pick his brain some of the controversy because if you're a member of the booktube community and well or even if you've just seen Lovecraft Country, the Lovecraft's kind of shit on a lot, certainly wrote some pretty horrible racist stuff. I mean, he was a product of his time for sure, but he also, I don't know if you deep dive into Lovecraft, there's also some, a lot of signs that he kind of evolved as he got older, married a Jewish woman. So I think there's a lot of contradictions with Lovecraft where he's a very fascinating person to talk to, could have a deep conversation, but then also just like, what do you think? Be From Beyond, Reanimator, like these film adaptations of your work. He'd probably fucking hate them because they are very different if you've not read the literature. But yeah, that'd be fascinating. I don't know if that's the most inspired answer, but he would be way near the top. Let's see here. Let's see. If I could work on a movie set under any director, who would it be? Um, Cronenberg. Yeah. Don't know how many movies he has left in him. Obviously, he's uh, getting way, way up there in age. So every movie could be his last movie. So yeah, I'd say Cronenberg. Again, if we're like throwing living or dead, I mean, you gotta say Hitchcock. I mean, Hitchcock, you don't need to put a genre on it. Definitely one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever sit in the director's seat. So you'd be a fool not to want to work with Hitchcock. See. Oh, and Cheetah, if Patrick's your name, if you prefer Patrick. Nice seeing you on here. Jamie, I know that one of your hobbies outside movies and books is boating. Do you have any other hobbies? Well, big pro wrestling guy, which probably isn't much of a secret if you follow the channel. I love exotic food. I think again, growing, well, I grew up a lot of places, but being born in DC, I was, exposed to different kinds of foods early on. So, like, and once in a while, hey, if it's something maybe I haven't tried or haven't tried a version of it, I'm pretty adventurous, big Indian guy. Um, That's a huge hobby. Any kind of like food festival sort of thing. I'm always down for that. Um, hmm. Other big hobbies. Yeah, I love the water. Big into that. I love to hike. Um, I there's some really cool hiking trails around where I live and a little bit beyond. So, getting out in nature and doing that. I'm not like the most woodsy guy in the world or anything, but I do like to hike. If you're feeling down or anything, there's nothing better than like just a nice long hike, particularly off the beaten path. I don't have the best sense of direction, but that's good for the soul. I think everybody should do that. Corey, do you have a movie idea that you would want to make? So again, I got fucked over pretty hard on the movies that I not the Conrad thing. That's like a whole other like kind of amusing story. But the stuff that I did later that I actually put a big chunk of money into, even though it doesn't really look it. Um, that that wasn't the greatest experience in the world. Um, and yeah, I have a lot of ideas floating around in my head. It might I don't know, it might be more likely than not that I would maybe write a book at some point than a movie. I would work on a movie. I feel like there's a lot of people in the community that honestly, if I lived closer to some of these guys, it wouldn't be too difficult to go out and shoot something with I don't know, Lorne or any of these guys. That would be very it's not easy to shoot a movie, but you know, I'm not the technical aspects never been me, so I'm more like a creative guy and um yeah, so lots of ideas. I won't throw them out now because then somebody else will make them. So got one in particular, and I don't know if they ever stole it, to be honest. I mean, I haven't like seen anything else that they've done, so I can't say one way or the other. But I have one idea that I think would have been really fucking cool, and I can't remember if I ever even talked to them about it. So yeah, but yeah, the 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 head guy's like stupid as fuck, so I wouldn't be surprised if they already took it and made a steaming pile of shit because it's not really exactly an idea guy. Uh, let's see. No worries, Jake. I'm holding down the fort. As long as you get questions from the chat, it's actually not difficult at all to do this solo. Um, last time I shit my pants. Wow. I'm not a big drinker, so oh, shit my pants, man. Not in recent history. If I had like some funny story there, I wouldn't uh be embarrassed to tell it because sometimes you just shit your pants. Probably pretty close. I at one time when I had food poisoning. Didn't happen, but it certainly could have happened because if you've had food poisoning, it's not fun. Had a bad Reuben at a local diner, but did not shit my pants. Let's see. Yeah, Jamie. Check out Jamie Hart. She posts a lot of hiking videos. Ben went hiking earlier today. Started raining. Yeah, I've been a little bit of a lazy bastard lately. Well, it's hot. Not as hot, but it's like swampy. It's like that sort of swampy, like sweat just pouring off of you kind of thing. But right now I'm like going through Halloween. I'm slower because like the inside's usually done by now. As ridiculous as that sounds, like that you can't do the outside right away because you kind of have to keep mowing here up until I mean, shit, I have to mow one last time when I put the Halloween stuff away. We still got flowers on the trees at that point. So yeah, I've been busy with that. That's probably going to be my day tomorrow. But Fleshwind Features, we are doing another Monsters watch along. So come hang out with us tomorrow. And we've got a really stacked Wednesday show. That's some very promising movies. I won't tip my hat on whether I like them or not. Let's see. Corey, what is my favorite wrestling storyline? Wow, that's hard to pick just one. I will put over one that, I mean, it's well known, but I'd put it up there with honestly some of the greats in terms of booking, and that would be Raven, Tommy Dreamer in ECW. That was Raven in general, honestly, like not so much in WWE, but in ECW and WCW, Raven was a part of some amazing storylines, just really well booked stuff. And if you remember wrestling at that time, that was a big thing because Tommy Dreamer just could not beat Raven. Like nowadays, I think the baby faces don't suffer enough. Like Daniel Bryan's a great example. Like that was the best run in probably modern wrestling history, certainly over the last 20 years or so, because Daniel Bryan fucking suffered on the road to WrestleMania. That whole like run with him just kind of lasted and lasted, and when it came time for him to actually get that belt, it was huge because they actually did a pretty good job of convincing you that he might just never do it. And there was a time when I was trying to get into wrestling, and I had different versions of this conversation with people, but at that time specifically, it was like in my case, like I was told, "Look, kid, you're you're not a flippy floppy type guy," which big on the indie circuit at that time in the 2000s. And you're big, but you're not like monster big. So I don't quite know where you're going to fit in. There was a lot of like, you might have to be content just being an indie guy. And I'll never forget one thing said to me, like very specifically, was they referenced Kevin Steen, who in WWE now is Kevin Owens. And he was pretty, well, fairly early in his career at that point. Just kind of like that name just kind of getting out there. And uh I was compared, like, look at him, like he will never be anybody outside of the indie circuit, as crazy as that sounds. And they referenced him and they referenced Daniel Bryan. In terms of look and body, I'm definitely a little bit more like Kevin Owens is like me in shape, basically. And those were two, like, they'll never be anything. Well, that uh, they definitely made the doubters eat shit eventually, but that was kind of part of it though, because like at that time, I'm average height. I'm big. I can certainly throw a lot of people around back then, but um, you know, it wasn't untrue. Like when Bryan Danielson got signed, that was like fucking bonkers to me because you look at him, he's short, particularly without the beard. Like you look at him and you think like, man, this guy doesn't have any look. He looks goofy. No offense. I mean, he's one of the all-time greats in my opinion, but so yeah, it's a long-winded answer, but yeah, recently that, and I think go back and watch some of the Dreamer Raven stuff. The Dreamer Sandman stuff too. Um, let's see what I've missed. Favorite Hall. Oh, and shout out Sean McManus in the chat. Favorite Halloween costume. I assume you mean that I've personally worn. Um, The last time I actually really dressed up, I did Twisty from American Horror Story, which I thought came out pretty good. As a kid, I've been Randy Savage. I did a really good Frankenstein's monster at one time, like which is not the most complicated, but like it was unusually good. Like I remember being very happy with that. A lot of the costumes I did growing up, though, like I just wanted to look like really like fucked up and gory. So I do different kind of variations on zombies, uh different things like that, escaped mental patients, and then like just kind of doing like a supernatural kind of twist on it. That was some of my favorite stuff. There has been like HOAs that have gotten mad. Um, you know, that there was a microwave gimmick that I did that apparently was not for young eyes. And well, that C word can go fuck herself. She's such an yeah, but I won't name names. Let's see. Big Crack Rock can't remember the last time he shit his pants either. And we'll go with that. We'll go with that. Ben, top 5 wrestling factions. Ooh, that's a good one. I can never like rank stuff in order. That's so tough. I'm not gonna name big ones like DX and NWO because like that kind of goes without saying. Um, Undisputed Era for sure. Lots of modern classics in NXT there. I think they're a great group. Um, hmm. Well, if you're a UEW fan, Hate, that was a really cool invasion storyline that went down in UEW. You can talk to Kruger about that as well. Um, hmm. The Kingdom, old school like Ring of Honor, that's a good one. The Flock, which I think was really cool in WCW at a time where sometimes like WCW would get a lot of criticism for not being as edgy, but I thought the Flock was really cool. And obviously I think there's a lot of shit that they could have done, but I was also a huge Chris Canyon fan. So the Jersey Triad with DDP and Bam Bam Bigelow. That's one people forget about, that I was a big fan of. Dangerous Alliance. Um, there's like a thousand more. I'm just trying to come up with some that are not like just mentioned to death. Um, yeah, there's some like even like the Brood, like they weren't around very long, and I always felt they could have gotten more out of Gangrel, one of the best bump guys to ever do it. Um, Sean McManus mentions right to censor. Oh, absolutely. The Latino World Order, that was great stuff. Um, I I have a feeling you might see a version of that. I've heard some rumors about Santos Escobar being called up, and that might be something that could be brewing. I don't know if they'll call it the LWO, but yeah, that was also like a little bit short-lived, really, when it came down to it, unfortunately. The Wyatts, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you fuck up Bray Wyatt. I hope Triple H brings him back. Wyatt losing to Goldberg was the dumbest fucking thing in modern wrestling history. That made no sense. Yeah. Uh, Ben Grimm says bring it back is the right to cancel. That might be pretty cool, but if you remember Joe Gacy in NXT 2.0, he was initially kind of doing that sort of again, as Cheetah said, overused word, but he was kind of doing like a woke heel gimmick first, but then it kind of just segued into generic cult leader with the dyad stuff that they're doing now. Um, which I like him, but was probably more interesting doing it as sort of like the woke guy. There's no real elements of that character left now, so it's you know kind of just Bray Wyatt light. Um, so yeah, there's some West Texas Rednecks was kind of fun. Later WCW thing. Let's see. Mm. Oh, Ben Grimm. Fuck, Mary, kill. Elvira, Feruza Balk, or Phoebe Cates. Ooh. Well, I definitely want to do 2 out of the 3 with Feruza Balk. So, all right. So, hmm, that's a good fuck, Mary, kill, Ben. Usually those aren't very interesting, but that one is. So, Elvira is a lesbian. So, there's not really any marrying or fucking to go there, but I couldn't kill Elvira. That'd be horrible. But she's undead if we're talking the characters, so she might be okay from that. So all right, I'll go with that with Elvira. Hmm. Feruza Balk is still single as far as I know. Phoebe Cates, long-term relationship with Kevin Kline. I'm pretty sure I could beat the shit out of Kevin Kline and take Phoebe Cates. He doesn't strike me as a fighter. But hmm. Wedded bliss with Feruza Balk. Sex comes with the marrying. I'm gonna spend like half an hour on a fuck, marry, kill question. Um, uh, all right. I fuck Phoebe Cates and cuck Kevin Kline, and I marry the goddess Feruza Balk. So there we go. It's my answer. Sean, someone might have already asked, but out of all the autographs you have, what is one of your favorites or means the most to me? There's a lot, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre poster I have, which has just about everybody, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Since they've been deaths now, Gunner, Toby, it's that one kind of grows more and more special. But there's a lot. I mean, Barbara Steele was a cool one for sure because I'm a big Black Sunday fan. Um, Yeah, Ben, big Ravens flock fan. Yeah, did a lot of cool stuff, but there was so much more they could have done. Radicals, yeah, that was obviously historically very significant. Always thought Saturn would go further, but he had his demons. Nation of Domination kind of, even as a kid, made me a little bit uncomfortable because it was like, oh, this is weird just making like all the black guys heels. So maybe I was being a little bit woke at that time, but yeah, great faction. Owen Hart was, yeah, that was always interesting. Might be going a little out of order. Evolution, absolutely, Sean. That was a great run. Uh, Jamie going to bed. Good night, Jamie. Ben, Elvira is by. Well, she's certainly uh, been with guys if you read her book. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I assume monogamous, so with her, so I guess I would make her kind of retired from dick. I would assume. Yeah, Moppy, Sean. That's definitely. I don't think they're going to do a head trauma gimmick like that again. So yeah, Crush was in the Nation, Ben. Uh, absolutely. So yeah, Cinemurdrum video, Papa Shango, or The Godfather. Oh, two very different characters. The Godfather went really far, and it was a really cool run. I think Papa Shango, he had a good run as Papa Shango, but I think there's more that you could have done with that. It's kind of a theme with me and with wrestling in general. There's a lot of supernatural characters that never get that full, like, they never fully capitalize on a lot of supernatural type characters. And some of them are stupid. Like, there've been a lot of stupid attempts at supernatural characters in wrestling, but yeah. Yeah, so I guess Godfather, but I think he could have done a lot of cool stuff because, wrestling was cheesy at that time, but Papa Shango was, kind of a cool, creepier character for that era. Ben Grimm, not a Matt Riddle fan. I'm a pretty big fan of what he does in the ring. In fact, he's had some real bangers lately. Uh, and I know Randy Orton likes teaming with them because, these tag matches with Riddle, he doesn't have to do as much. Riddle is a little bit older. I think he's like 36, 37. Um, so I don't know if he'll ever like get that spot of being the man, but I still think there's possibility he holds the belt at some point. I like him in ring a lot. I mean, he's kind of, yeah, modern day Rob Van Dam in terms of character. Uh, but yeah, I like Riddle. I like Riddle a lot. Don't necessarily see him as the man, but I am a Riddle fan. He doesn't wear shoes. I couldn't fathom wrestling barefoot. Oh, Mikey, Riddle's over like hell. Like he's very popular, I think, right now. Uh yeah, I don't think we ever saw Papa Shango nude, but cool. Not kink shaming, Jesus. Um Best appearance of a wrestler in a movie. Well, you already picked that one, Sean. Buff Bagwell in Savage Beach. Abso-fucking-lutely. Beyond that, I think Rowdy Piper is the greatest wrestler turned actor. I'm not saying, I mean, like, look, The Rock is the biggest without a doubt, but I think Piper could have had a big career on top because he had just everything that you kind of needed in a great action star, and he could have done comedy. He did a movie with C. Thomas Howell and David Carradine called Cyber City, where he got to go a little bit more over the top. He could play a good villain. I always enjoyed Rowdy Piper, even in a shitty movie. But yeah, Buff Bagwell on Savage Beach. I'm not sure that you can beat that. I feel like that's a show, Ben, actually, and I think we've talked about it before. We can do one on wrestlers in film. Corey, favorite era in wrestling. That is tough because you can't really compare what's going on now to the Attitude Era per se because WWE WCW was a fight for survival. And the stuff right now with AEW and WWE, that's obviously not the same. But I do think it's very compelling right now. Wrestling's interesting again. And there's some criticisms about the Attitude Era. Like, it wasn't all perfect. Things were just so hot right then that pretty much everything, people were eating it up. But, Mae Young giving birth to a hand. Like, if they did that on SmackDown tomorrow, everybody'd be bitching and say it was fucking stupid. And there were certain things at that time that were fucking stupid. So that's a tough one, man. I'm content as a wrestling fan again at the moment. And But well, all right. XPW. There you go. The XPW era, because they are a true alternative and they're becoming a true alternative again. So I'll live in the present and just say that like XPW they had a fantastic show that we reviewed on our Flesh Wound Features channel. So check that out if you are a wrestling fan. Um, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. What else we got here? Yeah. I not wearing shoes is I couldn't imagine that. Did not see Usman lose today, Ben. Who do you think is to blame for Bash at the Beach with the regards to Hogan winning the belt with Jeff Jarrett? I know people say Russo, but I blame Hogan. I've never been a big there's ways to sort of like mm, a lot of what Russo did was cringy. I'm dancing around some stuff because this might honestly be a good topic at some point to dive deeper into it. And um, but yeah, I don't like somebody coming out to do a promo and just breaking kayfabe too much as far as like just yeah, this is all fucking bullshit. And it's just I don't know. Sometimes Russo with a lot of shit, I think, thought he was being clever and he really wasn't. He was a guy that needed a filter, and Russo with just like do it how you want it. And that just didn't work. But that's a longer wrestling debate. Uh, so WCW in general, it wasn't one person that sunk it. Guaranteed contracts, nobody truly ever being the guy in charge. Uh, yeah, egos, Hogan certainly, uh, I wouldn't say he destroyed it though. Vince Russo did some really fucking dumb shit that certainly was attached to him and contributed, but there's not one person that you can blame. And that whole situation there with Jarrett and Hogan was just another like this is not helping. It's not that clever. It's not helping. But yeah, it's kind of sort of answered that, I guess. Kevin Nash and Magic Mike. I know he was in it. Never saw that movie. Um, it's always tearing his quad, Ben, Sean. Hey, Darren, what's up? You're up late or early or um, finger poke of doom. Yeah, sometimes we remember stuff like that, but I don't remember being a fan of that when it went down. It was just kind of like, yeah, okay. Uh, Running a little low on questions, but throw them out here. Happy to answer a few more. Oh, Sean, yeah. I mean, I've watched a lot of Japanese deathmatch stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, FMW. Yeah, I mean, all those gimmicks they did. Also, a very good Dark Side of the Ring too. Whose finisher would you like to take the most? Uh, would I like to take? It has to be a finish. So I can't say like Terry Runnels stink face or anything clever like that. Guess if I'm being lazy, hmm, let's see. The Samoan spike from Umaga is a simple one. Just, you know, basic back bump, nothing too complicated there. Um, hmm. Maybe the Molly go round. I wouldn't mind getting hit by that, by Molly Holly. Yeah. Have to give a pervy answer, I guess. Let's see. Pedigree's not necessarily an easy move to take, Sean. That's a burning hammer. Oh, Ben, that one's a little scary. Make sure you have some training. They're not teaching you how to do the burning hammer right away. Stone Cold Stunner. There's a lot of ways to sell that. You can do like the Rock oversell. I've seen guys do like full on backflips, like recently that have taken that move. Rock bottom. Sure, yeah. I mean, I guess if you're just going at that with like yeah, like it would be iconic to take a stunner or a rock bottom, obviously. Favorite tag team of all time. Well, I definitely favor teams that I mean, most everybody did a singles run at one point or broke up at some point, but man, in terms of tag team wrestling, I mean, Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, that stuff still holds up. It really does. Um, yeah, yeah, that's tough. There's a lot of great tag teams out there, though. Um, And like I said, we might do some more Squared Circle Society stuff on Flesh Wound Features when we can. We cover a lot of horror stuff, so it's kind of like, it's finding the time to cut. But wrestling's getting interesting again, so we might do some more Squared Circle Societies. But yeah, I'm dancing around that a little bit, but that might be the best tag team rivalry of all time. I mean, yeah, Freebirds, the Von Erichs, of course. I mean, that's legendary. Um, I feel like Triple H will make tag team wrestling cool again. Um, he's already those early signs are there that I think he's going to take it a little more seriously, and I think he might bring back like Enzo and Cass. I think that might be a surprise on the horizon. Ben, just to tell your friends you took it. Yeah, I mean a stunner would be pretty big. Yeah, I mean rock bottom. I mean he's biggest star in the world, so that'd be big too. I take a Dudley's 3D also, absolutely. Brothers of Destruction. Yeah, Sean, the only thing is like I don't that's kind of like that's a tag team that obviously made sense. I'm not a fan of, and one thing I think they need to get away from is throw together tag teams that win the tag team titles. Like to me, that's just fucking dumb. And I think it should be harder for just two individuals to beat a great tag team. I'll say a current one that I think will go down as one of the greatest of all time is FTR or the Revival. They're amazing. Any one of those guys is a contender for Wrestler of the Year, even some of the singles stuff they've done. So, yeah, they're up there. Pit Bulls are amazing. Don't get talked about enough. Sean, Shane just wasn't next in line at the end of the day. I don't know what he would. Things are in very good hands creatively with Triple H and Stephanie. Like I have faith that things are already better than they were, and they'll keep evolving and getting better. 6 months, a year from now, I'm very curious what WWE looks like. Ben, my favorite short-term rivalry was the Wyatts versus the Shield. Absolutely, yeah. They look. I mean, particularly the Wyatt family, they never got as much mileage out of it as they could have. Yeah, Hayden's dad throws a mean clothesline, Sean, definitely. Uh, Hayden does a pretty nifty brogue kick. And also awesome, like, people are still watching. I know it's late. It's just me, so well, Ben, so they fired a good chunk of the NXT UK roster, but Triple H apparently is reorganizing in 2023 and launching NXT Europe. The sad reality is, and I think the lockdown kind of hurt that momentum, um, but NXT UK was not getting a lot of watches. And I think that's also because wrestling, the market's just very oversaturated. Uh, you can go back and watch NXT UK on the network, and you'll be hard pressed to find bad shows. In fact, Walter, now Gunther, I'm just going to call him Walter because that's who he was then. Walter's matches with Ilya Dragunov, stupendous. If you love great wrestling, you need to watch their matches together. The stuff Walter did with Tyler Bates, Pete Dunne, all of that was amazing. Some of the absolute best wrestling that I've seen the last 4 or 5 years or however long it's been took place in NXT UK. So I think it's not a long legacy, but I do think like that run was really, really, really cool. But NXT Europe, I think he'll try and make it bigger and better. A lot of those guys that got cut, I think you will see maybe get hired back. But I think it's going to be at least a year before they launch that global localization thing that Triple H was trying to do. That doesn't happen overnight, but that was his big goal. And now he has more power. So you might get NXT Canada, NXT Japan, NXT Saudi Arabia. You might get all of that. That's very ambitious stuff. And there's a lot of moving parts there. And, it kind of depends. There's some issues, maybe, stretching things too far. Not everything is going to be the quality of the NXT black and gold run, because at a certain point there's more competition for talent now with AEW too. But look at how quickly the tide has turned. You can log on to like Fightful or Wrestle Talk or Cultaholic or any of those big channels right now on YouTube, and you'll see just as much negative shit about AEW over WWE. That is turned around fast. Triple H hasn't been in charge long, and look at what you're fucking seeing right now. Like there's more bitching about AEW, and I don't care what anybody says. Sean Ross Sapp had his fucking nose up the ass of Tony Khan for a long time. But now, like, shit, it's getting good again. I watched SmackDown and Raw from beginning to end, and I mean, there's little criticisms, but man, they were all pretty good shows. Let's see. Might have to grab a drink in a little bit. I'm not used to talking this long. Corey, big fan of the late 80s Road Warriors and NWA. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, that was fucking awesome. Ben, I didn't know you were an NXT UK watcher. Yeah, it's a shame. I for the longest time I'd sing NXT UK's praises, and but just the reality was just not a lot of people would watch. There were times like, look, even when NXT was hot, like I would be like, guys, I think UK had them beat this week. And they lost some marquee talent. Obviously Walter, Pete Dunne. I mean, goddamn, the amount of classic matches those guys had over on NXT UK, and then also, of course, into NXT, especially with Pete Dunne. Yeah. Not sure right now. NXT is very transitional. 2.0, that look and everything, I don't think will last for long. but it'll take a while. I don't know if it'll go back to exactly what it was, um, but I don't think it'll be 2.0. That's the only thing that honestly hasn't changed completely yet. Like I haven't seen it trickle down to NXT yet, the Triple H stuff. Little bit, like little things. Tyler Bates showing up, obviously the remaining UK guys for when worlds collide. That should be cool. Um, but it'll take a little bit of time to get NXT back to his old vision. That'll be the longest thing. Raw and SmackDown has changed quite a bit already. Let's see. Ben, did you see Walter's gimmick when he started in Japan? He dressed as a giant beaver wearing a mask. Yes. He's proof that, you know what? I doubt anybody looked at Walter at that time and saw that's a fucking star. But through a lot of hard work, he got there, man. You give Walter time, like he's as compelling to watch as just about anybody. I'm a huge Walter fan. Um, and if Vince stayed around, they would have totally fucked him over. I mean, they would have never you would have never have seen the Walter that you got in WXW or NXT UK or just any indie. And I'm not saying you get the exact Walter even now. You do have to alter your style a little bit. Walter working with like a Madcap Moss, they're not going to have the same kind of match that you saw in NXT or if he's wrestling like Pierre Carl Ouellet on the indie circuit, that it's not going to be the same. But that's not to say it can't be good. Kurt Angle or Chris Benoit, Sean says. Ooh, Angle never killed anybody, but I'm just gonna go on total wrestling talent there. Two very different characters. I mean, Benoit wasn't even really a character. That's tough. That's really tough. I'm gonna just cheat and say equal. I mean, Angle did some fucking amazing stuff. Angle was obviously a better talker, but Benoit was one of those guys that didn't need like insane promo skills. He was just a believable ass kicker who had fantastic matches and just kicked the shit out of people. So that's a hard one to decide. It just depends on, yeah. Sean, do you think we'll ever get Pugs to like Jordan Peele? No, I don't think that will ever happen. He hates Jordan Peele with the passion. Ben, I think Walter is less intimidating with the weight loss. He looked more of a monster as a chubby dude. I kind of agree, but I'm kind of also getting used to it. He's still a big guy. I think Triple H would be more open to him, being, I mean, he's not what you would call fat. He's just a beefy dude, you know? So I kind of see what you're saying, but I think he's okay. You're also, look, when you're a bigger guy, um, you are a little more injury prone, especially with those kind of road schedules. So being a little slim is probably not the worst idea for him. But I get it. But I still think he's the fucking man. And I don't think he'd get fired if he gained a few pounds back with Triple H now in charge. Corey would have loved to have seen Bret Hart Muda. That would have been awesome. As far as dream matches go, let's throw out one that not just obvious, something obvious, but HBK Adam Cole, I think would be fantastic, or would have been fantastic. Well, he threw out Chris Benoit. You know what? I mean, they had worked together, but I don't think we ever got like a truly awesome like Chris Benoit versus Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner run. Talk about two like intimidating ass kicking individuals. I think that could, again, I'm not saying they never locked up, but like you never necessarily got that big like match or a series of matches with those two. Um Talent today. You know what? This one might sound a little bit odd. I'm trying to make it a little more interesting, but Brian Danielson, underdog babyface going up against Big Van Vader. Like not necessarily one you think about, but I think that would have been really cool. I could kind of like book that in my head, and that I think would have been really neat. A good David versus Goliath kind of thing. Ben, HBK versus Danielson ever happen? No, no, it did not. Um, I no, I don't believe so. I don't know if they were ever like in a like some random tag match, but I mean, again, like as far as when I hear dream match, that to me is like 20, 30, 40 plus minutes, like a big pay-per-view kind of match. There's actually some people that have worked that, but maybe it was just like a 5 or 6 minute TV match kind of thing, like never like the true dream match. I don't know. There's some there that you don't hear as often that I think would have been cool. Um, um, yeah, I'd fucking love to have seen like a Walter Daniel Bryan match in WWE. I think that would have been a really cool run if Bryan were still around. I'd say, make old Gunther, as they should right now, a very dominating, long reigning Intercontinental Champion, and that could have been a WrestleMania match all the way. Hard hitting, edge of your seat kind of stuff. Give them like 30 minutes and just let them beat the fuck out of each other. Dan wanted Mae Young. I don't know if there's like a Mae Young dream match. Fabulous Moolah. Oh, their stuff was hilarious. Hey, you're still doing anything at that age. That's pretty fucking cool. She gave birth to a hand, Sean. Favorite special feature on a media release. Wow. God, anything like Steven Thrower related, Tim Lucas related, Kat Ellinger. Like if you see like a commentary or a doc or anything with them, very knowledgeable and cool shit that I always pop for now. That infamous commentary track on Jacko, where Steve Latshaw and Fred Olin Ray were spar. It, whether it was a work or not, who knows? But when Latshaw flipped out and left the commentary because Fred Olin Ray brought up the review where Jacko was called a shit pickle, which is a term you've heard us occasionally use on Flesh Wound Features. That was a lot of fun. Whether it was a work or not, who knows? But that was like oh wow, I never heard a fight like that on an audio commentary, so that was pretty cool. Boy, though, there have been a lot of great docs. But those are some names certainly. You look at some of the Jess Franco releases, Steven Thrower. I mean, my God, the Tim Lucas, Kat Ellinger, Kim Newman, just some of the great scholars that we have. But the clear answer is, even though, Christmas Cruelty, pre-order it now. I hear there's good special features on that. Uh, Not in any way to compare any of us to Stephen Thrower or anybody like that, but hopefully it's fun. I think you'll like it. Let's see. Favorite commentary track? Well, I guess I kind of answered that, but uh, um, Fred Olin Ray does some really cool commentaries, and he's not afraid to be negative, which I think is always a big plus. Um, um, Again, always refer to those names that I mentioned, who are always good. Joe Rubin, also. Um, I guess with a box set, you could kind of count the doc as a special feature too, even though it's available separately. But the Al Adamson doc was really good. The full car box set that don't know why I can never think of the name. I have the set over in the other room, but the Woodlands full car set, that documentary is a lot of fun. Very yeah, very a lot of great information there. Let's see. Most expensive movie I own? You mean like just in value, like it's out of print? To be honest, I'm not great about checking. If I have it, I have it. So it's not like I'm like looking up because I don't really sell my stuff. I do sell things, but I don't like, oh, this is worth a lot, so it's time to sell it or anything like that. I'm not a like buy stuff to sell it kind of guy. Um, I mean that I don't know if the new 4Ks have brought the price down, but I mean that Halloween set obviously I think is expensive. I'm a sucker for a box set, a movie box set. So I have, to be honest, most of those from boutique labels. There's a few new things that maybe I haven't gotten right yet, but most of those valuable ones, you name it. Yeah, I have most of them. Let's see here. Yes. We're up late when I think Orc went to bed. Do you think Jake went to bed? Well, here's the thing. If he did that, this chat's going to stay alive. I will have to go here at some point. I'm definitely not going to go, I think, beyond 4 a.m. So that's another like 23 minutes. So ask your questions away because I'll probably make that my cutout time. But hey, if you're lonely, the chat will still be up because he's got to end it. I can't end it. But let's see. What other questions do we have? Looks like we might need a 2.0 of this interview. Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to pop on anytime. I think, I don't know. I think you learned a little bit more about me, hopefully. I don't know if I revealed anything that's not like been out there somewhere, but yeah. Or a rare movie that's worth the most. Man, like there's just so much in my library and um I don't collect VHS well, I did obviously back in the day. So like I don't have like big box or anything anymore that's like worth like a ton. Um yeah, it'd be easier to name if I have it. Um I know some of those Vinegar Syndrome slips, which I'm not a slip guy. Like I keep them now. In fact, Chris McGibbon, as we talked about earlier, I think got a lot of early slips for me before that really became a thing right away. So like he's probably balling with some early like Scream Factory slips. Um, but I do keep them now. Just I'm not like a guy. I'm going back like, oh, I have to have slips on all of these. I think that's kind of goofy. My goal is to have as much movies because it's about the movies first as humanly possible. I think it's kind of sad if you're spending more money on slips than you are film. But to each their own. Like, hey, if that's your thing, I totally understand. I'm obviously a very obsessive collector, so I get it. Let's see. I think a lot of people are starting to go to bed now. Hopefully, I'm not boring you, but like I said, I'll make that's 20 minutes at 4 a.m. unless the chat just completely dies. But throw out your questions. I will certainly answer them, even if they're dumb. They don't have to. You don't have to come up with anything brilliant. I'll answer whatever you got thrown my way. Mike, yes, holy shit, I am still going. It's morning. You're probably having your breakfast right now, right? Or your lunch. I never can remember. Favorite bad movie? There are a lot. I mean, Evil Tunes. Certainly, I love Evil Tunes. I want to get that tattoo at some point. That would definitely, I guess, qualify as a bad movie, but I love it. Some movies are more weird than bad. Curious Dr. Hump is a weirdo movie that I've always liked quite a bit. Emilio Viara. Bad movies that really qualify. Some I would kind of call weird more than bad, but Evil Tunes is definitely one. Death Spa's come up a lot recently. That's one I like. It's always hard for me to pick favorite, but there's one in the Slashtober tournament this year, which also Flesh Wound features. We will probably have at least one show every day in October. Probably more than one on a lot of days, so you'll be getting a lot of content from us at Flesh Wound features. Mike, when is Jake's interview with Hayden coming up? Oh, yeah, there was a little bit of a fight there, but love Jake, obviously. I'm on the show right now. And love Hayden, too. So maybe that can happen. Maybe we'll get some hands being held, some kumbaya being sang. But hey, look, it was a fight. Little Dip Cup is funny as shit. And why don't you shut up, you fat piece of shit? That was also hilarious. Nearly killed Orc. So yeah, that the anger was definitely a comedic masterpiece at the same time. So I hope we will get that face to face at some point. And we'll do a double header. We'll make it WrestleMania. Maybe we'll get old Philly boy on with me, and that probably won't happen. You might have more of a shot with Jake and Hayden, but never know. Pumpkin pie too could happen. Could happen if he takes the I won't go there. Something out of his mouth is where my mind was going. What the hell is a dip cup? A dip cup is like just something where you spit like you're chewing tobacco. Nothing much more to it, I believe. Let's see. Watching Orphan tonight. Well, we are reviewing Orphan First Kill on Wednesday, on the Wednesday show at Flesh Wound Features. So I won't tip my hat yet, but I actually watched that right before we went live here. So get to see our thoughts. It's a prequel, by the way. I couldn't even remember exactly how the first one had ended. I remembered the twist, and but yeah, it was like sequel, and yeah, no, it's a prequel. Can't be fun. Well, we'll see where we land, but there's some really cool shit coming up on Wednesday. We've got some really good reviews coming up on Wednesday. It's should be pretty stacked, and we have some smaller shows that we're putting out. But 15 more minutes, guys. I don't want to like leave it totally blank, so I might have to run and take a piss at some point here. But in fact, you know what? Hit me with like some really awesome question. I'm going to take a bathroom break since I haven't taken one tonight, and 30 seconds. I expect to come back to some fucking brilliant question. All right, sorry about that. Nature called. Oh yeah, Mickey Rooney's a strange guy, Sean. Another legend I got to meet before he died. Not a dick though. Like I mean, I've heard there's some legendary stories about Mickey Rooney being an asshole, but he was pretty cool. I think I met him at Chiller. I could be wrong. Like I've been to so many conventions. Sometimes they run together, but I believe Mickey Rooney was probably Chiller. Another person in the news, Gary Busey, who I've met at Monster Mania. His exploits, no real shock. Ironically, I even talked to a security lady at one point. Well, yeah, whatever you would call her, that had some stuff to say about him even way back. So not a huge shocker there. Not the person though that I always allude to that, yeah, like something like this comes out, I almost wonder if the floodgates will come, because that's gonna be a heartbreaker for people, like a real fucking heartbreaker. Um let's see. Yeah, Mike, I know it's a big time difference, but whether you listen live or you listen later on, the Flesh Wound Features family very much appreciates it. We have a lot of people actually that I know of that like never watch live and can never like be in a chat or anything, but they have been listening for years, and we certainly appreciate that very much. I've got like 12 minutes though. I'm not secretly Hayden, Sean. Can't uh can't mimic that ginger look. Gary, well, no, actually, no. Gary Busey was that late '80s accident that he had that gave him brain damage. I mean, he was probably always a little bit crazy, but that certainly head trauma like that doesn't help. So that story Charles Band tells about him like chasing an actress around trying to tickle her. It could be something stupid like that too. I'm a little bit behind on the news. I know something had happened, like some accusations, and I guess he made the wrong person uncomfortable or something. I haven't like really deep dived into it, but I know there's some people that have, I got a lot of text this morning about it. So, what is your favorite Horror Rumble episode? Oh, I've missed a couple. I hope to make the next one. Um, hmm. You know what? I think they've all been great. I don't want to get like a political answer, but Cable Channel 11, you should also subscribe to them in case you're not familiar, because there will be another Horror Rumble. I think you have Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise coming up next. I know you also mentioned a Psycho show. So, yeah, check that out. You may not get as many videos from Cable Channel 11, but when you do, it's a big event for sure. Mike, hottest country for porn stars. He's going with the Czech Republic. There's certainly a lot of great porn. Well, let me rewind that. A lot of very seedy, fucked up porn that comes out of Eastern Europe. But there's a lot of beautiful women, certainly from the Czech Republic, Romania. Some really beautiful Romanian ladies out there. They don't tend to get famous though, really, for the most part. Like, well, it depends. I mean, if they do, they definitely seem to have to come to America. There's not a lot of like truly famous porn stars anymore, but it's another cheap plug. S'mores Indoors is going to have another adult film tournament. I dug deep for some names, no pun intended, this time that I think a lot of people haven't heard of, but they are stars. They are great. So, yeah, those tournaments are a good fapping guide, I think, for a lot of you. And this one, I'm actually pretty impressed. Even me, sometimes like newer stars, like I'm not always as zoned in on their names. So I had to do a lot of like, all right, who is that girl? So yeah, that will be one you don't want to miss. I believe that'll be next weekend. I don't know if Corey's still in the chat, but I think he's got that scheduled. I know he has a really cool graphic to unveil for that one. So we will have that. So 8 more minutes, guys. My voice is starting to go, so I'll have to preserve it for Munsters tomorrow. Next Sunday, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's a Saturday, Friday. Yeah. Oh, unless you're talking about Horror Rumble. Yeah, I think Corey usually does the porn tournaments on like a Friday or Saturday. Asian women, you know what, Sean, though? There's not a lot of like how, at least today, not a lot of household name Asian adult film actresses. There's some for sure, but it's not like a massive list of like big names though. You're dreading watching later, Mike. Try not to work too hard. Dreading watching Zombies the Monsters. I wouldn't say I'm dreading it. Oh, you're back. There you
are. Yeah, I'm back finally. I want to thank you for.
No worries. The chat was active, so
good.
Never gets awkward unless the questions stop.
That is true, and I'll fill you in afterwards. But yeah,
no worries. Shit happens.
Yeah. I guess you got everybody's questions, right?
Yeah, I told everybody, I given them the 7-minute warning. I said I had to bow out at 4. So yeah, so I don't think anything went unanswered.
Great.
Yes, he lives. So if you're not sick of me, tomorrow there'll be a Monsters commentary, and I'm sure, yeah, the shenanigans will continue on all the different channels.
I sure hope so. I know I've seen Corey says Corey Horror I can't talk.
Horror Rumble.
Horror Rumble next Sunday, he believes, which will be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if I'm correct. The franchise there. Sean says he returns. He was away saving the world. Yeah, well, not necessarily, but
Hayden showed up. They had a brawl. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure I heard a table break.
Oh, fuck yeah. I missed the good stuff, I guess. But you said, well, you're bowing out in what, at 4, right?
Yeah, I got like 5-6 minutes.
Okay.
Sure.
I
think I covered my bio for the most part, I guess.
Well, I hate that this went the way it did, but
that's okay. No, it's a great chat.
If the chat was great, that's good. But I definitely would love to have you back eventually, and
definitely anytime.
And we can go a little bit.
We covered wrestling, porn, horror.
Everything,
we did a lot of topics. Yeah.
Dip Cup on a pole match, baby. Hell yeah. That's some Vince Russo booking right there.
You got to get a store or an Etsy store. Christian's kicking ass with his, so you can sell dip cups.
Yeah, I want to make my own dip cup.
You can put different horror logos on it.
There you go.
I'd buy one, and I don't even chew, but fuck it, I'll buy one.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to. Okay. Well, I really appreciate you. I'm solo here, and then everybody like Ben, Sean, everybody, Darren. I'm trying to go up and see. Send a murder drum and everybody that was asking questions and keeping this going while I was being an unprofessional.
No, life happened. I've had shit that's happened on I've had dog fights. I've had God, I've had some weird ones during a stream. There was the what do you call them now? Possum incident.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that one. That was a good story too.
Yeah, I sometimes once in a while, if I'm busy, I'll have to record in normal human hours, and normal human hours something tends to always happen. Somebody will be screaming in the background, or usually you'll get an outburst from my pug at some point. He's been really good tonight, though. He slept through this whole thing. Well,
yeah, that's normal shit. normal stuff compared to. I'll tell you if Dan once had Jason Bloom at his door. Did you? Is that truth, Sean?
I do not. He might show up to fight. I've said some really fucked up things, but I will point out I have given a couple negative reviews to A24 stuff very recently too. So, and I'm one of the rare weirdos that like dash cam.
I've still yet to watch that. That's on my list.
Very annoying performance, but it's complicated. I don't think I would have liked it a few years ago, but I actually did have fun with dash cam.
Well, see that lead, she's been going for it, dude, on Twitter. I've seen some of her stuff, and it's is this real or is this just an act? You know what I'm saying?
She's a shit poster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, I could see, I know Lauren couldn't even get through 10 minutes of it, and I can understand why. I really could. I think when that movie first started, I was like, oh, God damn, I got to spend 90 minutes with this. And then it won me over. I think just knowing people like that is it sort of won me over. I kind of got it.
Yeah. Well, we're at the 2-minute mark before you got to go, and you've been running this fucking show. So I'm going to let you, I know you got a Monsters commentary and all that stuff. So I'll let you plug what you got going on.
Yeah, come hang out with us earlier in the day tomorrow. I think it's either 6 or 7 Eastern. I can't remember, for a Monsters commentary. And got a couple other things that might drop tomorrow. I can't even remember, to be honest. I know Kruger just finished up the Freddy's Nightmares. So if you want to see them those are shorter videos, but they cover every episode of Freddy's Nightmares. They just had the finale. So check those out. And yeah, we've got some really cool stuff coming up in October, so stay tuned for that.
Sweet. Yeah, be sure to be on the lookout for that. As far as me, I don't know. I'm just a piece of shit here on this channel, and shit just happens, I guess. I don't know.
Great
But
interviews recently, though.
I appreciate that. This one should have been one, but that's all my fault. So
It works. We'll do a part 2. No big deal.
we'll have to do a part 2, and
Yeah.
I'll make sure. And
there was no dead air.
Well, that's
like
good.
the big thing.
That's good. And I'll tell you off air, but it's just dude, stupid high school because shit, man, it really is.
Yeah.
But it's got to be dealt with the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah. But yo, what's up, Master for Vinyl? What's going on?
What's up?
But kind of waiting on Jay.
I know who.
Yes, I think we know who that is. But I'm kind of waiting on Jay for tomorrow because I think you're on air. Kind of talked about doing Dr. Giggles here on my channel. I'll watch along.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of waiting on him to see if he gets that uploaded, and if he does, we'll do that for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Weird. Sunday used to be like a dead day for kind of streaming, and I know like Piz. I think the last time it was like we went early. Then I think Piz, Jay, bunch of other people had a Sunday show, so it's become a stream day.
Yes. So hopefully, I know Jay didn't want to stop doing Sundays, so I was like, well, fuck it, man. If you don't want to do it, if you just upload the movie, we'll do it. I'll do it anyways.
Ben Grimm will be on like 50 different channels at the same time and active chatting. So I'm jealous. I can maybe follow 2.
Yeah.
Follow 2. Like I certainly, can't go beyond that.
No.
But I think people learned some new channels today to check out too, and hopefully you got a lot of good info out there.
Yeah. I'm glad you carried this thing when everybody goes watch this back. I'm glad you carried this one, Dan. But yeah, thank you, Sean. Man, I haven't seen you in a minute, Sean. So, which I'm sure it's like early morning for you. So right now, so you can. It's easier for you to watch, I guess, at this point in time.
At some point, maybe schedules will change, and we'll have like a 7 a.m. show where like Mike and Sean and everybody can enjoy us at a normal human hour.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hey, isn't that Devon? Yeah, you really did show up at the end, man. I know you're probably just waking up and going to work or something right now, ain't you? But
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm 2 minutes past your mark. Everything's
plugged. That's fine. Everything's plugged. Region free too. Check out the recent Region Free podcast.
Yes, I guess we got a lot of over the seas because Sean
Moscardini.
Good grief! I wake up to tune in and it's over. Well, it's late over here for us.
You can always re-listen to it though.
That is true. You're gonna listen to Dan talk because you
learned a lot about this bearded weirdo and wrestling and porn and horror movies and all that good stuff. And yeah, nice to see you. Subscribe to Flesh Wound Features, and also a lot of channels, not just channels like connected to this community. I tried to name drop, and I'll think of like 50 that I didn't name drop, but the wrestling ones tend to be bigger channels. They don't really need the plug, but there's a lot of horror themed book stuff, and I'll sub to anybody in the horror community.
Hell yeah. Well, Dan, I appreciate you coming on here, even though we'll reschedule this and we'll do a proper part 2.
Sweet.
From my end, anyways. You went above and beyond what you needed to do. But everything's plugged. Go subscribe to Flesh Wound Features for sure. And I want to thank everybody for watching and that kept this thing going for Dan here asking questions. Till next time, guys. Peace.